Hello and welcome. I'm Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Union Civil Aviation Minister Rammohan Naidu has announced that the central government is establishing a high-level committee to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the tragic crash of Air India Flight 171, which has resulted in the death of 275 people, including 241 passengers, 10 crew members, 2 pilots and over 20 locals on ground. The government has put a time limit of 3 months for the high-level panel to sit down, talk to various stakeholders and involved, and discuss with any other important expert that is necessary as per the investigation. The minister also shared the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has recovered the black box and believes it will provide an in-depth insight into what actually happened moments before the crash. Joining us live at this point, Air Vice Marshal P.K. Srivastav. Also with us live, Captain C.S. Randhawa, Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar also is joining us now live. J.S. Rawat is also with us on the broadcast. Let me get started with you first. Captain Randhawa, President of the Indian Pilots Federation. Captain Randhawa, this is now a time frame of 3 months that has been set up for this probe by the Civil Aviation Ministry. The first detailed briefing by the Minister and Secretary was done today. What do you make of what they said? And also, Captain Randhawa, how long before we actually get a sense of what actually happened conclusively on board that aircraft that caused it to crash so soon after takeoff? Captain Randhawa, can you hear me? Okay, I think we're having some connection issues with him. Let me get in Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar, who's been a former senior commander on Air India Express flights, including flying the A320 aircraft. Captain Bhatnagar, the probe has of course been formed. What do you make of, the time frame that has been given to the probe agency, the constituents of this committee whom have been set up by the Civil Aviation Ministry, and now how hopeful you are of getting an answer given the fact that the black box has indeed been recovered safely?
Definitely, Uday, everybody is very hopeful because the DFDR will actually tell what was the actually flight path of the aircraft, what the systems are doing at the time of the crash, and we will get actually the exact cause of the loss of lift. As of now, what we all know is the loss of the lift. What happened? Was it or did it happen because of the loss of the power, or because of bird hit, or fuel starvation, or something else? All these theories which were being, or the flap and undercarriage, all these configuration. So the theories which were being put up, there's one theory of sabotage also being put up about the fuel starvation. So I'm quite hopeful that whatever the inquiry will come out. I think 3 months. But I was reading somewhere that ICAO generally gives 30 days for a preliminary investigation report for the preliminary, the result. So I hope that within 30 days, at least the government of the inquiry, the committee will come out with the, I would say, the preliminary findings, what exactly was the main cause. And that will actually then we can take some remedial measures to what exactly, whether it was a pilot error or technical man-machine technique. All these things I think will get answered once the data from the DFDR is analyzed.
Yes, J.S. Rawat, the former Joint Director General, is also with us, in fact, on the broadcast. J.S. Rawat, we are learning that this probe, of course, has already begun now. The experts have reached the site as of yesterday. We are also learning, of course, that the wreckage now is being collected slowly. All of that is going to be very important in this investigation. The data recorder has been recovered. The black box has been recovered. J.S. Rawat, does that give you a sense of optimism that we will finally be able to pinpoint a cause, a correct cause of what happened?
Yes, we will be able to understand everything what has happened in the cockpit from the CVR as well as the DFDR. DFDR will give the data of how the aircraft was behaving, how the power has been given by the pilot, and how it has behaved, why the power loss was there, whether it was the engine failure as the speculation is being made, or anything else. That is one issue. And the second issue that when this investigation takes place, it's says that actually they recreate the status of the flight on the ground, where how the debris has scattered and with what area has covered, how far it has gone, whether where was the main this thing. As you can see, that debris was found that tail portion was on the this thing, hostel of the doctors. Gas was stuck with the building. So all these things will be taken care during the investigation by the investigators.
Yes, Air Vice Marshal Srivastav, I believe, has also joined us now. Air Vice Marshal P.K. Srivastav, who of course has been awarded the Vishish Sena Medal through his tenure for the Indian Air Force. Air Vice Marshal Srivastav, now as far as your, your sense is concerned, there were many theories which were floated immediately after this crash, looking at the videos, that this is what could have happened, this is what possibly could have happened. New theories now have suddenly come in from international aviation experts as well in the last 24 hours. But by when do you believe, Air Vice Marshal Srivastav, would we get an authentic conclusion? Would it be at the end of this 3-month period that has been given for the probe committee? Could it happen earlier? Could it happen within a week itself, once the black box is scrutinized? Air Vice Marshal Srivastav, what's your sense?
I think there's some cross.
Yes, we'll just try and, if our producers can just please mute the others. Please go ahead, sir.
So thanks a lot, Uday. It's good to be being on your panel, and you give time to say whatever one wants to say. It's not one of those hurried kind of things where you put in your bites. Basically,
yes.
in this case,
thank you for that. Please go ahead.
We have gone through a lot of visuals. There are a lot of things available on YouTube, and channels have also discussed thread there. So as far as the investigation is concerned, we have been in investigations, in aircraft accident investigations. So nothing is ruled out. We put everything on table and then go through the FDR, DFDR, what we call in this case, and CVR with open mind as to any kind of thing can happen. And somebody mentioned about the sabotage. You also mentioned about the sabotage angle. That also is examined. But the way aircraft has taken off in those 54 seconds, we are lucky to have some kind of video recording which has been played so many times on channels, and people have played on their own. So it appears to be a very straight and level, a good takeoff. At that point of rotation, when the aircraft reached the VR speed, the aircraft has pitched up and started going. What baffled thereafter was not retraction of the undercarriage. The undercarriage, after liftoff, you have, when you taken off, after 5-10 seconds, the undercarriage should go in. That didn't go off. And thereafter, there is no, I mean, you can't make out by engine noise or something whether the engine was running or not running. The hypothesis that both engines ceased, that is a really mathematical impossibility that both of them cease at the same time. And the things that the birds will get in, these engines are, this is GNX 1B engine, which is very sturdy engine, and it goes through the chicken test where dead chicken is pushed through. A bird like that, small birds will be there at this height, if at all they are there, because normally when the clear takeoff is given, ATC would have surveyed the area and the flight path, and normally they will take measures which are there on the airfield to shoo these birds off, or they will alert the pilot. So bird hit again is a kind of very improbable thing. If it comes out, I'll be rather surprised. So if the bird is not there, what happened to the engines? That is what they like to find out. Now there are lift devices, like we talked about the flaps being at 5 degrees, 10 degrees, or 15 degrees. In this case, the kind of runway which was there, it was a very long runway, 3.5 kilometers. So probably the flaps would be at 5 degrees. That's what one supposed for this kind of aircraft. And this aircraft is fly-by-wire. And it also has a FADEC, which is full authority digital engine control system available. For loading also, it has an electronic load sheet. So this engine, this aircraft is, it tries to take away the load of pilot in many ways by providing computerized systems. And it also has a flight system management. So in these kinds of availability, this aircraft was considered almost non-crashable, but it has crashed. Engines were supposed to be very, very good engines, which have never failed, and both engines failing. So the two theories we are doing round is, one is that somehow the engines flamed out at the same time, and then there are a lot of things coming out. And secondly, that probably instead of gearing up, there are two pilots. The one pilot who's flying the aircraft, it can be a co-pilot or captain, the other pilot is non-pilot, non-flying. So when he said gear up, probably he put the flaps up, but that is a real improbability because the flaps are in different position. Gear up is right
Yes.
in front of the panel. So doing that kind of mistake and goes into your kind of discipline which is there in flying, the rigid discipline which is there.
Yes.
It is almost impossible for a trained pilot like that to do that kind of mistake.
Yeah.
So that's also mathematically training wise
These
is
are all
something
theories. These are
very
all
remote
theories. You're
question.
right. There are many theories which will all be on the table during this probe. Very quickly, if you can complete your point, and then I want to get in Captain Randhawa. Yes.
I'll just complete.
Okay.
Coming to the timeline, 3 months is a good timeline. And if we find DFDR and we see any of these things happening, which I mentioned to you, where it is very obvious, then the things will be out within no time because that would take, let's say, a fortnight or a month. Because
Yeah.
here the stakes are there. The strong stakes are there of the Boeing company, the stakes of Tata Airlines. All major stakeholders would like, if there is anything of that type, that will come out very, very fast. But
No,
if there is
you're right. The
anything
world's
indicating on
attention is
hinges
on this
or
probe.
any other thing,
International companies' attention is on this probe. There are many world leaders whose attention is on this probe. Of course, multiple foreign nationals were also on board this aircraft, which is why those kind of statements have come in from, of course, Keir Starmer, Donald Trump, and others who have said that their authorities are also available if indeed needed. But Captain Randhawa, quickly bringing you in here, I believe you are back with us now. I was trying to bring you in here earlier on this probe, on the parameters of it, what all really will be on the table for these individuals who are part of this probe committee. They've been given a time of 3 months. That probe has now officially started. What do you believe will be the parameters of this probe and the modalities really of trying to get to the bottom of what happened?
See, as far as the accident is concerned, it's extremely tragic. And Air India, this is the second accident which is happening after a span of, I would say, 47 years. 47 years back, we had the Emperor Ashoka crashing off the Bombay coast, 747 aircraft, which had instrument failure, and that was attributed to pilot error. Now, after that, this is the first crash which has occurred. Of course, Kanishka, we cannot call it anything to do with aircraft or the pilot. It blasted in the air. So after 47 years, this crash has occurred. I would say that Air India's safety record has been very, very good. And they've been very professional engineers. So I overrule a few things like the sabotage part, and secondly, the component failure. Now, though you cannot have two components on the two different engines failing at the same time, it's improbable. The factors which are associated with the Ahmedabad airfield, I have done hundreds of flights to Ahmedabad on a wide body aircraft like 777 and 310, and I've done a lot of training flights. It is infested with birds. And Air Marshal Srivastava said that these engines are quite capable of taking the high bypass engines, and even if the chicken goes as per him and nothing will happen. No, I do not agree. Even a small FOD, like a stone, can go and damage the compressor and the turbine blades. So we cannot overrule a bird hit at Ahmedabad, because Agra and Ahmedabad are two known airfields in this country infested with birds. The second point is there could have been a fuel contamination with water. This flight came from Delhi, and what happens is the fuel is there in the wings. The aircraft is flying over 35,000 feet. Now, the wings become cold, and there is some type of condensation which takes place in the wings, and cold soak, and some water may get contaminated. There will be some water content in the fuel which is there in the wings. However, when this aircraft is uplifted the fuel at Ahmedabad, there the fuel check before the refueling, the engineer checks out for any water contaminant or other contaminants in the fuel. So one very rare possibility, 1 in a 10 million chance that there is some water droplets which have gone and which have seized both the engines, which is a very, very rare possibility. The third one is that if we see right from the takeoff, the gear is down till the crash. The gear is down. I think instead of the gear going up when they realized maybe before the autopilot is taken,
Yes.
is selected on,
Right.
or before that, the pilot in command may have given the command of gear up. So the first officer inadvertently may have raised the flaps. And if the flaps are raised at so low level, the aircraft must be doing an assumed temperature takeoff or a DA-10 takeoff.
Yeah.
And with gear down, I do not know that the aircraft can recover in 200-300 feet.
Now, since you've raised that
Minimum you'll
point,
require-
now since you have raised that point, let me get in Captain Bhatnagar on that. On the flaps, you've seen that video very carefully, I'm sure multiple times, Captain Bhatnagar. What is your sense of what happened with the flaps on board that aircraft? And what you saw abnormal or normal at
See,
this
what
stage of
Captain
takeoff?
Yes, what Captain Randhawa just said, it's actually the first thing when we happen after takeoff around 50 to 60 feet, the pilot flying, in fact, pilot monitoring give a call of positive climb or positive rate. At the same time, the pilot flying will tell gear up. So this happens between 50 to 100 feet. By 100 feet, we generally engage the autopilot. The very fact that the landing gear was still down right up till the time the aircraft crashed, that always raise an eyebrow what actually had happened. Or by mistake, instead of the landing gear, the flaps were taken up. And as the aircraft was full fuel with heavy weight and everything, there would have been very, very less stall margin. And the first, the pilot flying would have been looking outside, the pilot monitoring looking inside. So the very fact that the pilot flying would have noticed that instead of climbing out, the aircraft started sinking, it would have been something called a startling effect. And the first instinct goes to any pilot is just to, pull the stick back. And the moment he would have done anything, which if we could just assume what it would have happened, but had he pulled the stick a bit back, he would have gone into a different disaster thing. At 400 feet, definitely the speed would have dropped. And with the heavy weight, speed drop, the aircraft would have gone into the stall. That's what we can presume. And if there is something like loud bang, which the lone survivor said, and a sudden yank back might also have a sort of compressor stall. Even if the auto throttle thing we picks in, or we call it alpha floor or the toga, I don't think if the engine has stalled that something would have happened. But primarily there is no space, height left for the lift to regenerate, so that with such a heavy aircraft would have recovered at this lower height. So second thing, one more point I would like to highlight here. We do not know exactly who was actually flying. I came to know from the media sources that the pilot in command was also the line training captain.
Yes.
Generally, it happens that in flight, international flight, so we generally say in Hindi, okay, to take off kar le from here, like you can do the takeoff from Ahmedabad. He would have this. So I again can presume if the pilot flying, the captain has told the first officer to do the takeoff from Ahmedabad, so the pilot flying, that is the first officer, would have given the call of, or the captain would have given a call of positive rate, or the positive rate, the co-pilot who is
Yes.
the pilot flying now would have set the gear up. Now the captain, it's again a muscle memory. If the captain is not he would have been. So now he has to take his right hand for the gear and the
Okay.
right hand.
Okay.
Where-
But that is a
Yes, sir.
theory though. That is a theory though that Air Vice Marshal Srivastav is not.
I'm saying the theory. That's what the main thing. If he's the muscle memory, instead of going toward the landing gear up for the lever, it goes
Yeah.
on the console panel, center panel where the flaps are there.
Yeah.
Because moment to take the flaps up, naturally the speed is not there with the
Okay.
lift. Lift equation goes out of the balance, surface area reduced, the lift has dropped.
Okay.
The speed is not there. He yanked back. He further aggravate of dropping the speed. I don't think it is a recoverable situation.
Okay, point taken. Point taken. Because it was at a
One
very
more,
low. Obviously,
one
there
more
was
point
too
I'd
less
like to-
time. There was too less time, and it was also at too less height. Okay, before I get in Air Vice Marshal Srivastav, yes, Captain Randhawa.
Yeah, I have a point. If you see the video very properly, the
Yeah.
aircraft has unstuck towards the end of the runway. that puts a lot of doubts that how this aircraft has consumed so much of runway. After takeoff, the attitude is very, very flat. It is unlike a 787 or a 777 after takeoff, even with a high weight, the attitude seems to be very low. And I'm thinking that maybe the flaps, because when I tried to see that video 30, 40 times, after a certain height, less height, I'm seeing that the flaps are retracted. So it could have been even before the autopilot is selected, the flaps have been selected. And if it was just about 100, 200 feet, then
Okay.
no way the recovery is possible,
That's a
even
theory
if you
though.
hit
Yes.
Toga.
That's a theory though that Air Vice Marshal Srivastav is not very certain of. Why is that, Air Vice Marshal Srivastav? Also, we perhaps need to look at why the pilot, you believe, gave that call of Mayday so soon after the takeoff. Immediately after the takeoff, he had said Mayday to ATC. There was, cross-questioning by the ATC. They asked him for a reply. After that, there was nothing reported.
So, Uday, both the captains and both the very experienced pilots explained very beautifully, I would say. The first one is about the bird theory. Why we are trying to discount at this moment about the bird theory? Because if the birds get ingested for the sake of our hypothesis, there'll be some kind of smoke and there'll always be a differential of seizing. So there'll be some attitudinal change in the aircraft which was not visible in the video which we saw. And the video was so grainy that making a kind of assessment that yes, flaps were up would be at this point of time, which appears to be one of the causes if there is a pilot error, and that will be examined, of course, as a first thing. The greater issue is how both engines can seize simultaneously, because if you see, the wings have not shown any kind of significant deflection. That should happen. Normally they seize in an interval. Some kind of interval is there, and that you find. But definitely at this height, if anything of that type happens, when you have loss of lift, there'll be no way pilot can really control the aircraft. It is just about few seconds, and I don't know speed positive call or V2 call or what you call, whether it came through or not, what happened in between. CVR is there and DFDR is there. We'll come to know about everything. That's what the question you asked. How fast we'll know about it? If one of these hypotheses which is there and is found to be validated, this will come out very fast for two reasons. First reason is the stakeholders will be very happy to know that it was not the equipment or the engine or the aircraft or any other kind of sabotage which has made it happen. So people don't have to compare their notes. They don't have to find out many, many things. There'll not be that kind of lot of work. If it happens that flaps were inadvertently, kind of selected, and then we lost, you'll lose it. In case flaps are selected up, there's no way this kind of aircraft can be really saved. And I think one of the captains said very rightly, this aircraft took little bit of more length than what it should have taken, and the angle of attack, I'm not pretty sure from the video which is taken, because the angle of video, the way you take it will also define the way it is appearing to us.
Yes.
But yes, that being there, now since we have DFDR and CVR both in our position with the investigating agency, if any one of these things are there, they'll come out very fast and quick, and within 3 months you will have some public declaration, because it has go through. There are a lot of stakeholders, like Boeing itself is a major stakeholder. They were going through all kinds of quality issues. They have also paid fine for that, 1.1 billion sometime back. The CEO was pulled up, and then there is a Turkish kind of agency, Turkish Technic, doing our MROs and all that. That also thing will continue, and they were asked after Ops Sindhu not to work with this, but they have taken some kind of time. So there are many theories going around, but the best way to settle the issue is to go through these two things which are available with us, CVR and DFDR.
Okay.
Get the parameters right, get the things right, and when you're sure that technically and parametrically these things happen, that is what the announcement will come.
Okay.
And if one of these theories what we're talking about is
JS
true,
Rawat, now there is also going to be a scrutiny of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircrafts in the country. That is also something that the that the Civil Aviation Ministry has said in their briefing today. Do you believe that is also a good step?
But first of all, I will like to mention here that because last 2 days we were making the speculation, what was the various theories about the cause of the accident.
Yes.
Now the time has come that DFDR data will be out. I think they will be working with the DFDR data, and cockpit voice recorder will also be revealed. So what has happened? What communication has happened between the pilots in the this thing during that crucial stage of the flight, and what has caused the aircraft to lose the height? So whether it was an engine failure or any other theory, what you are going to say, that is going to be clear by the DFDR within the short time. But what has caused? Suppose engine failure has taken place. What has caused the engine failures? That investigation will take some long time. And moreover, in the investigation, the FAA will be also FAA or Boeing will be also included. They will be participating in the investigation because as per the Annex 13, they can participate in the investigation, and India government of India has to allow them to participate in the investigation. So that is one issue. And you have asked about the audit of the 787.
Yes.
Now, in this stage, we are in the stage that now this 787 in the DFDR and in the cockpit also, this aircraft data is available all the time. What is happening in the aircraft, in every part of the aircraft. So all these things, it gives the indication also. If some problem is there, it gives the warning to the cockpit also. Yes, this thing has happened. So basically, if we have to do the audit has to be done for the procedure. If any procedural mistake has taken place, and if anything procedural lapse has taken place in the maintenance or any kind of thing. But as far as the auditing of the aircraft is concerned, auditing of the aircraft itself tells you every time that it's healthy or it has got some problem.
All right, we've run out of time. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. It's time to slip into a short break.